A teaspoon of
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. This is April with the Travel Collective, where I share interesting people, amazing places, and just great conversations with individuals I meet. And as many of you know, I now reside in Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is just full of fascinating people. So I connected with Lauren Tallman.
thank
So
you.
excited to chat with you today, Lauren. And Lauren is an author, and as we do in Sin City, she happens to be the author of Sensual Tales and other books. So I think there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of bravery there. So I'm excited to chat with Lauren.
I never thought of bravery. Um, the thing is, as I tell everyone, I do write erotica, and people find me everywhere. They just took Lauren Tallman, they'll find me anywhere. But the thing is, I explain to them in order to write erotica, and they giggle when I say erotica, I tell them you need a damn good story.
Yes.
You have to have something that you've researched, that you've gone out and found out about things and put in, certain sections into it. But you have to have a damn good book. And excuse me for saying like that, but there's no other way. Otherwise, what are you reading? You're not going to
Right,
remember
right,
anything,
exactly. I think
you
it's
know?
even harder now today with all the visual elements. I mean, I remember as a kid in junior high, you'd get the adult book and you'd be like,
No way.
and well, now we have video, we have YouTube, you have all this stuff for people right on their phone. So I'm sure as an author, it's become even more challenging to connect with readers.
Absolutely. Look, as an author, you're on Facebook, Instagram, you're everywhere, right? And it's a 24/7, but you can't oversaturate. Yeah, and it's a constant game. So you have to make yourself a little bit unusual. And it's like when I do my book signings, I thought to myself, okay, here I have my books. And what I did was I have a whole bunch of older editions of How to Have an Affair and Not Get Caught. That's when I first wrote it. And of course, it was revised. It was the second launch about 2 years ago,
Oh,
adding
wow.
certain things. So what I did is I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do with these second, the first ones?
Yeah.
Do you remember, like you say, remember when we were kids and things would come in a brown paper bag
Yes.
because that was the Playboy magazine, remember?
Right. Yes.
I got these little uh, brown bags and I put the old ones in. And if you buy all my books, you get that for free.
Oh, wow.
And there it is. It's like you get what, guess what's in there,
Yes.
and it's putting yourself out there in as an unusual way as possible without stripping. It's so hard.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yes, exactly. And that's what I love is like reading your book. There's such rich descriptions, there's cultures. It incorporates so many of the things I think you've traveled so many places, you've lived many different places. So how has that kind of played into your writing?
it does a lot. I tell people if you're writing, I have my own group. I founded the Erotic Writers Group of Las Vegas in here almost this month, 11 years ago.
Wow.
Still going strong. It's amazing. Still going strong and great writers. But I tell them, you're writing about something about the hills. I said, get in your car, go there. You can write, the hills were, no, don't write the hills were high. Right? It was rocky when you tried to walk up, how you
Right.
slid on the pebbles. Show where you've been, but you've got to get out there. And I tell them, if you write about any place, do your best to go there. And if it's too far, find a place that's like it. You know, it's one thing to say if they walk through a village, but when he says that he saw the woman with a straw basket and
Right.
it was old and starting to fade and crack. That's a whole different way of writing. But you've got to see this to remember this. You don't think of this.
Right.
You've got to get out there and travel. And if you can go in different countries, fine. Go in a different city.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Everything's different. We're in Vegas, going to California. I can't understand those people at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like everybody has their words, their idioms, their ways of speaking. And it's a whole different world. The minute you step out, you've
Yes.
got to travel. You've got to get out. There's no other way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that is so true. And we are pretty blessed in the United States. I mean, I haven't traveled as much in other countries, but there's just the cities themselves, like you mentioned, New Orleans and New York City. I
Yes.
mean, completely different than Las Vegas or San Francisco or a little coastal town in Maine or, it's just there's a different feel. You're right. The people are going to dress just a little different. I mean, there's differences.
They have a different beat. When I was in New Orleans, loved it. People have to go to New Orleans. If you're
Yes.
going to go, first go there, then travel wherever else you want. When I was there, the people spoke so slowly, and I'm a native New Yorker, and I'm doing this right, and I'm nodding my head. And you know what? Got calm.
Oh,
They got
yeah.
calmer because they speak a little slower. I was in San Francisco, loved it. Oh, the clam chowder. And it was I don't know, maybe it was the waves of the water or something. It's like, it pulls you. You have different feelings. California, I hate California. Let's leave that out.
Okay, we'll leave that one out.
Yeah. And New York City, oh man. Okay, New York City today, you have to go to the different areas. New York is 5 different boroughs, and each one is different. I was from Brooklyn. I met someone here from the Bronx, and immediately you saw and I went,
Oh,
the Bronx. You know what I mean? There's that clash. It's like New York and California.
right,
Oh, you're California. Oh, you're in New York. And we became tight, tight friends. And we were the only New Yorkers in this whole area, that we knew about. And we could fight, but it was like New York fighting.
right.
And people said, why do you argue? And I said, no, that's how we speak. You have to listen to people. If you can't get out there, listen to people. And not once we say, sit down, have a pad and pencil with you, not or your laptop, doesn't matter. But listen to people. You're gonna hear different accents. You're gonna hear a different tone when they speak. You can start catching where they're from.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've traveled anywhere, you can hear the Italian being very sing-songy and nice. You hear the Germans that, it's so hard.
Yeah,
And the Russian, I love Russian. My parents spoke Russian. It's the depth of it, and you start hearing. And then if you like it, go there or
right.
be a part of it somehow. But again, like you say, writing, you've got to know what you're writing about. You've got to get out there. In fact, I write a column. I write a monthly column, and every month has to be something different.
Oh, that's
I
right.
drove to the Warm Springs in California. It was an hour and a half drive. Trust me, you don't see a dog out there. It was nothing.
Right.
And it was one thing to say, I went to the hot springs and writing about it, but on the way, the land turned white from the
Oh,
minerals. Now, you don't know that until you travel.
no.
I wouldn't have known that miles out because the minerals came up from underground. I
Right.
wouldn't have known that unless I traveled there.
Yeah.
Got to know, you've got to see it in order to write it. You have just so much imagination, trust me. Though in
Yeah.
the right way, you can really push it.
Yeah, that's true. And it's the same about romance. People sometimes think that travel, instantly is going to rekindle a relationship, but I think there's more to it than that. So,
It is, but if you go someplace else, don't go with your partner because you're going to fall in love with what you're seeing.
yeah.
And that's going to be a little bit hazardous. But if I wanted to go back to Italy, I was there as a child, really a small child, and I was in front of fountains that wasn't in Rome. And I actually found out from someone where that was, where those fountains were in what city. And I wanted to go back. It didn't pan out, but you know what? Those fountains, when you write, you have to remember I was there. The fountains remember that I was there. The
Right.
fountains know I was there. I couldn't get back, but you have to look at it. When you look at it, you realize, what did the fountains see? When you
Right.
travel, what everything around you, those hills know that you came. Though that sea knew that you swam there. You have to look at the other side as well. And I think that also makes for a far better story once you're writing something.
Right.
But look at it, and I think you feel it more then. If ever I would have gotten to those fountains, I would have said, "You remember me?"
Yeah.
I was in a carriage, I was a baby, but I was there.
Yeah.
It means a lot when you go to different places. It changes your whole outlook on everything, even where you are right now. And I see people and I think, if they would do like the Italians or like, if they would have done like, um, Uzbekistan,
Right.
believe me, I've known people from all over. Um, you see that people handled different things different ways, and you can learn from it, and you really grasp things from it. Makes you a rounder. It gives you a far rounder personality.
And I think it inspires you, just as
Oh,
you're saying. I mean, you have such rich descriptions, but it's from just getting out and getting outside of, you can't just write in your little cubicle. Like you said, you need to get
yeah.
out and,
I wrote a story. By chance, I passed some sand dunes, and just because I passed the sand dunes, I sat down and I wrote. It's a novella. It's a very short thing. But look how your imagine pops with this stuff. It's about a centurion that had traveled and was sliding down the sand of the dunes, trying because he was escaping.
right.
The idea, and all because I drove out there and I happened to see the sand dunes. It was just like that, and you said your imagination goes. It's phenomenal, phenomenal.
So when you travel yourself, are you more of a planner or do you prefer to just wander and let the journey take you or?
Yeah, I'm out there. I have my grandkids, right? And I always told them, get out. I always tell them, get out, right? And I told them, you come back with your first degree, and I'll give you money to travel to any country that you want, but get out. Or see America. I don't care.
Yes,
But get
yes.
out. Don't stay. But no, very much I would say, okay, who wants to go for a drive? And the next thing you knew, we were searching for fossils miles
Oh,
from here. Yeah.
yeah.
So wild horses. And one time we went to the wild horses. And you see the water coming down from the mountains in streams. And when it passed us, the water was ice cold.
Oh, wow.
Now, when you go there and touch that, it's a whole different feeling. If I would have said the water was cold, it would have meant nothing. But that it actually tingled on my fingers. But again, you've got to get out there to do it. You've got to see this. You've got to feel it. You've got to
Right.
feel it.
So I have to ask, what inspired you to start writing? Were you always as a kid writing things, or when did it kind
Yeah.
of,
When I look back, yeah, I did have, and even if English was my favorite subject, but I found poetry. Oh, the romantic poets, God bless them. Um, the way they express themselves. And I would write things and I'd suddenly write. Even as a kid, I would write these short things and I thought, whoa, pretty good, yeah. And
right,
one day I thought to myself, I'm going to write a book. And it was a long time ago. I just sat again, it was picturing I'd gone to England. It was a short trip. When I came back, I looked at the map of England and I thought, wait a minute. And it was this young girl that comes from northern England where the hills are, and I have to find the
right,
lakes. I have to look up the lakes and all this stuff. And how she comes from nothing, very happy, poor as anything, but very happy. But the next, it's from 15 till 20, till she's 23. In that time period, how everything changes in her life and she becomes richer and richer. But besides that, all the people she meets and where she goes to meet them. She comes from the little mountain to a town, to a city, to a country, to different continents and going around the world and then coming back.
wow.
And it's all these people that she meets, and everybody's different. Everybody acts differently. Even when she goes from the mountain to becomes rich and has her own mansion, the people there are different.
Yeah.
Again, you've got to get out there. You've got to get out there and see this and see how they act and what they do. But yeah, the minute you travel, first of all, tell me you don't do this. You sit down on an airplane and your imagination starts going,
Yes. Oh, yeah,
right?
completely.
And uh, look, I did travel. It's just I just wrote. I would just write things, and one day I thought I'm going to write a book, and I did. And then I kept writing, and it was another book and another book. And it's
Right.
wonderful. It's wonderful. And it's remembering people. It's remembering how they acted, how they moved. There are certain people that have certain hand movements. Um, Different countries is how you sit. You
Oh,
know, in front of I know in front of I would say Muslims, Arabs, you cannot sit with the the sole of your foot, of your shoe facing them.
Oh,
It's basically cursing them. So you have to keep your feet down. Other places where well, we used to laugh in New York and Brooklyn. The Jews spoke like this and the Italians spoke like that. You
yeah,
know, each one had their own hand movement
right.
because we all knew each other. We knew what that meant. You know, I was coming home with my friend, an Italian family next door to me. And as we're walking up, I'm going, I said, look, that's your dad up there. And we look up and her father did this. She turned around and ran. And I'm running after her. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah, you're
oh God, what's the
right.
matter? She goes, no, she goes, that's my dad telling me my mother's going to kill me. You see, and you wouldn't know this otherwise.
No, you
Oh,
wouldn't.
it was so fun. And I'm running after her going, what
Yeah,
happened?
like what are we doing, right? What's the
We're just
problem?
going up the street. We're 10 years old. How far can we go? You know?
Yeah. What a fabulous place to spend time, though, New York, because I've actually never been to New York City, but it's just such a melting pot, I think, of so
Always.
many. I mean, all the different people that originally came to the United States ended up usually in New York first before they kind of bounced off.
Because we came to went through Ellis Island, um, and I was brought up there. And in my class was from everywhere.
Yeah,
Every kid came from somewhere. When they said, "Oh, I'm from New York," and my parents are from New York, they were the outsiders. Because we could speak different languages.
right.
We could yell at each other, like, watch it because we knew that language, that was their language. Like one, I wanted to tell her that guy that she didn't like was coming. And in that language, I was going, move it. And she went. There were so many of us. And from all over. And unfortunately, today they pull you apart. At that time,
Yes.
we were so accepting.
Yes.
Was from China. She was from Russia. She was
Yeah.
from Brazil. It was wonderful to hear them and to speak about their families and what they did and how they gone back. What did they see? How did it change? Ah, fascinating, fascinating.
I
Love it.
think Vegas is a little bit like that. I mean, I'm new to Vegas, but I'm learning that most people in Las Vegas weren't born here. I mean, the Strip was like built in the 1930s, and that's when
Yeah, it
it
was this
really,
small.
yeah, it was like a few hotels. But now that, the more hotels, it's brought more workers, and they come from all over, and they all have stories. And then we have all the travelers. I think it's a rich environment to be a writer.
It is, but when I came here, people said, how do you drive here?
Oh,
Because half the people are tourists and they have no idea
right.
where they're going. Um, the thing is, they would say, "Oh, look how the people in Las Vegas drive," and I said, "No, none of them are from Las Vegas. None of them. You find someone who was born here. It's 1 in 100.
Yeah.
I've met maybe two people that were born here.
Yeah, I don't think I've met anyone yet that's been born here.
Um, Minnesota, New York, Texas. I've met people from all over here. Same thing. You're right. It became like a melting pot as well. Well,
Right.
think of that. Yeah.
And I think it influences all the because I noticed there's a huge writing community and it's not just
Yeah.
erotica, I mean it's
Oh,
all genres, but there's a
yeah.
big writing event. I mean there's several book festivals that are held here. There's a lot of things
Always.
for writers.
Yeah. I'm beginning April. It's the Las Vegas Writers Conference. I'm part of that. I'm vice president of the Henderson Writers Group that puts on the conference already 20 years. Piece of work but you have publishers, editors, um, whatever, but everybody comes, the classes are amazing. And we have book signings. We have our own book signings. We go all over the city, sometimes outside the city. And we have these evenings or these days where either it's a bunch of us, it could be 20 of us having a mess, um, uh, fair, a book fair, or
Right.
sometimes just two of us going to a place, advertising the hell out of it to everybody we know, so they should come and buy our books. And people come and they get to know you. And I was so pleased. I was at a bookstore recently, and two people walked in and they went, "Oh," they said, "You're Lauren Tallman," and I went, "Yeah." I didn't expect that. And also, I write columns. I write a column for a local magazine. I do podcasts for them. And you get out there and you see, and again, in order to do the articles and the podcast, I've got to get out and meet people. I've
Yes.
got to travel. you know,
Right.
and because you've got to make it interesting. If you're a writer, it better be interesting, and it has to be from the first sentence.
Right.
That's the hook to get the people
I
to
think
read.
it's really true, and like we mentioned earlier, I mean, you have to really capture people quickly because our attention spans have gotten much shorter. I mean, nowadays I look at some of those old classic books and they're so thick. I'm like, how am I going to tackle that? It just seems overwhelming.
No, I'd read a mystery. I wasn't big on mysteries, but I did read a mystery once, and I remembered it that it was good because it was so unusual. It was The Matter is Circle. And
Oh,
unfortunately, it sort of hits home today. And I think because they wanted to make a movie out of it, and then they didn't. And I thought, okay, now I have to read it again to find out why. And politically, it really hits home, right?
interesting.
But the
Yeah.
thing is, it was so interesting. It was so interesting. Of a Russian agent, an American agent, made to kill each other, they find out and they go, no, they get together. They have to go to Italy, ta-da, travel, you know,
Yeah.
and get with this girl, and they find out what's going on, right? But the thing is, it was so slow because
Yes.
then it had more, it just went slower. It had more, it's not that it had more words, it had more passive words. Today, she went, not she was going. Doesn't go like that.
No, no,
It's
no.
people want it sharp. They want it sharper, quicker. And I had to skip sentences, because times change. Times change. And I don't know if I like it so much that it's quicker now, but quite honestly, I do that too. I bang my mouse. I bang the mouse, and my husband goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm married. It has to come up faster. This is a computer. It's supposed
Right.
to come up now." It's instant gratification, but I'm like that too. I've gotten like that also. I want the answer now.
Right. And
We
especially when
change.
you've the ideas are flowing too, you want to get them out. And I kind of feel the same. I get impatient with my computer. I mean, we used to wait for how long for our computers to kind of
Oh,
like
the noises it
yeah, the
made.
noises to like warm up. Now
No, but
it's
it's true. Even when I was writing and this whole thing, I'm redoing the one with this girl from England because it was written so long ago. Again, it was written, I never let it out because it was my first.
oh,
And
okay.
I couldn't let go of it. And people who've read it, they go, please put it out. But the writing was different. Then it would have had the flow. Today
Right.
it has to be quicker. And I don't want that. So it's a challenge. But then again, like you say, you're on the computer and I'm writing, I'm going, okay, she went here. And right away, boom, I go into and I search mountains, the type of flowers that bloomed at
Oh,
that time
yeah.
in that area.
Right.
I can't get there, so I'll find out about it. But all these little things that people don't think of. What kind of bowl did she eat out of?
Right.
When I wrote Harem of the Dragon, China, 1400s, Ming Dynasty, who knew? I had never thought of China until I sat down and suddenly started writing about this boy.
Yeah.
And the whole book came out, and people said that it was so rich. It took so much research, what they wore, how they wore, and people said to me, "Go to China." I said, "You go to China. I'm not going to, not that far." But it's finding what they wore, the colors, the winter colors and the summer colors, and the birds that were painted
Oh,
onto,
yes.
all these things. The shoes. They didn't have windows. They had fabric.
Right.
Richer you are, the better the fabric. It was all these different things. Now, if I would have gone there in China, I would have had to I would have had to go out to God's country and unfortunately see people who are poorer
Right.
because that would have given me more of what was once. But it's just, but immediately I had to find out right then and there, what did they wear? And I couldn't carry on until I knew if they really did eat duck.
Yes.
And
Right.
I did. I
Yes.
had to find that out. Yeah. Couldn't travel. I looked it up.
Yeah, you have to research it.
Yeah, a
So
lot.
when you do travel, are you writing while you're traveling, or are you just trying to like take pictures to make the memories and the feelings?
I'm not kidding. I take this. It looks so old fashioned, because people say, I still take a pen and paper. But this is the problem with writing. If it was anything else, I would have taken my laptop. And I
Right.
don't care. Once in a while, you open it up. I have an idea right now. I've just seen you. And all of a sudden I'm scribbling and I'm writing how your glasses go under your cheeks. Or how your hat is a little bit tilted. But I have to write that now. I can't wait to open my bag, take out the
Yeah,
laptop,
right.
open it up. You know, I have no time for that. I need now, and because you're about to walk away, I want to write about the color of your hair. And if you walk away, you're not there anymore. I can't see
Yes.
it. So, but when I travel, always pencils and paper. Oh, I once came home from someplace, and I'm taking pieces of tissues,
Yes.
and my husband happened. He was, why you just throw this out? And I said, no. I can't remember what it was. I was watching a show or something, and it brought to mind something. And over here, you have the shows and you have
Yes.
your drinks and you're watching. I was taking everybody's napkins and writing on the napkins. And I ran out of napkins. I stole somebody else's napkin. And all this, I kept stuffing it in my bag because when you're there, you see it and you start writing. Yeah, I write wherever I am, I'm probably thinking of something. I'm probably seeing this in a story. And I didn't realize I do that a lot. I do that a lot. And I watch people. I watch people, the way they act, the way they sit, the way they get up out of a chair.
Yeah.
These different movements, these different how East Europe, I can sort of spot them because also some connection with it. But I'll spot this because of the old regimes. They were always under tension, and it was like, is someone following me? Is someone watching me? And someone from New York, no, they'll look you in the face.
Right.
They don't care. And you watch people, and wherever you go, watch the people. They'll tell you sort. My husband once said to me a long time ago, he said, watch people, they give themselves away. And that got me to write. It was part of that help to write how to have an affair and not get caught. Because
Oh,
you're not supposed to get caught. So I would watch people,
right.
think, whoa, he's lying to her. Where I wouldn't
Yeah.
have noticed it before. I was watching people even more. I was a watcher anyway. One time my mother said to me, one day someone's going to hit you. She
Oh
said,
no. Yeah, exactly.
I would sit and stare at people and I would watch
Right.
their movements and I didn't even realize. And it was terrible. I was always staring at people. My husband would go, cut it out.
Yeah, there are places where, I think when you're traveling as well, it's like you do need to be a little bit depending on what country you're in, what the culture is. I know, like you're writing, so it's an art, it's an artistry. For me, it's a camera, but I know in Paris, I'm walking around with a camera and I saw a chef, I saw the perfect image, and I went to pull the camera out and he turned around. He'd seen me and spotted me before I saw him. So it's just that awareness.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's wonderful. When I'd gone to Israel the first time, I was there a few weeks. And when I came back, I was with the family and we're eating, except I wasn't cutting the food, putting the knife down, transferring the fork, and then eating. I cut and picked it up with the fork with my left hand. And my sister said, Ma, look, she's eating funny. That's what you do. And I don't believe me. A lot of people think it's so ridiculous. Why are you cutting, putting down the knife and transferring the thing and then
Yes.
putting
Oh,
it
right,
back?
right.
And it's true. I don't know. It's supposed to be polite. I don't know, but
I
I'm
don't
hungry. I want to eat.
know.
I'm
Yeah, I want to
not going to wait.
exactly.
I'm definitely not a waiter.
Right. But you're right, it's just all those little nuances that you can use to weave
Oh,
into your stories and these images that you create.
because I want you to see what I'm writing. Um, it's like I explained just yesterday, I was speaking to an author and I said to her, look, I said, I'm not going to write about that he touched her boob, you know?
Yeah.
But if I say her skin was like silk underneath his fingertips, the images,
Oh,
the
yeah.
images, I don't have to tell you anything. You can feel the skin, or when a lot of times when people say, oh, you write that stuff, and I go, no, I write erotica. And I tell them something else, he slammed her and he walked away, and three
I know.
minutes later, you're making a cup of coffee and you forgot you spoke to me.
Right.
If I tell you, the girl walked off the plane and she came up to him and she stood close and he put his finger on her cheek and he went down her neck and she came closer so no one would see where the finger was going. And then I stop and I look at people and I go, look at your face. I didn't even say anything,
Right.
but look where you've gone.
Yes.
They felt it. They felt the finger moving. That's what it's all about. It's having you feel. And if I see things when I travel, I want you to see the dewdrops that are darker than the leaf itself, that brings out the color. I want you to see things. I want you to see what I'm looking at. If you can't get out there, if you can't get out to those hot springs where I was and see all that white land, I can explain it to you. I can have you feel it, stepping into the hot water and the steam coming up. Oh man,
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
good stuff.
That is, it's really good stuff. And I think it's an art that's missed because I think as a reader, as a, like the current movies, a lot of them, I can't watch them. The old movies alluded to things. You understood that something good happened. They went to the bedroom. They've led you up to that point, but I don't need to see every last single detail. And in fact, that new stuff, it just seems like too, I don't like it. It doesn't
E-
stick with you. You have
Even
the
then,
old movies, like they create images, just like your writing. It stays
exactly.
with you.
But it's like you say, when you knew that you saw the two of them come together, and
Yeah.
suddenly you would see the ocean,
Yes.
because it was a Freudian thing, but they used it, and the rushing of the ocean, the strength of it,
Yeah.
beauty of it, that means they were having sex, and you knew it. But you were
Right.
looking at something so beautiful where you see the foam on the waves,
Yes.
you see the rush of it, it's giving you the beauty of it rather than showing you whiz bam. I don't want to watch them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, leave me alone. And sometimes it kills some dreams sometimes when you
Well,
see
right.
them.
Yeah, exactly. It's
When I
like,
realized Tom Cruise wasn't that tall, I thought, okay, never mind. I don't need
right?
to.
Yeah, exactly. I know some of these actors, I'm like, I don't want to see any of that. I don't want to see you
Not
with
that much realization.
right, exactly. So is it a challenge working with younger writers? And I mean that you and I have that background. We have those examples of older movies, and I don't know, has things changed in that way or
Yeah, it has. They'll get more to the point quicker, but you have to remind them, whoa, where's your story? You know, okay, it's sort of different, not that different. If it was that different, it's harder to read. Millennials and following from millennials on, it's harder. First of all, they don't read everything. They
right,
don't,
no.
it's all texting and what they know. And oh, here's another one. I wanted to get my books out to, it was back then from millennials on, how to get to them. And I was blocked. They won't speak to me because I'm
Oh.
older. Yeah.
Oh.
Until finally I got someone to speak to me and she said, look, we don't do Facebook. I said, I know. We don't do this. I said, I know. And she was angry at me because I had done my research on how to get to
Right.
these age groups, from this on. And finally she let loose and she said, look, the only way we'll read your stuff is if someone recommends it.
Oh.
We have to, because they won't go out and remember, you would go out and you would look for a mystery, you
Yes.
would look for a romance, you would look for, they don't. It was a whole different way of getting to them now. So they would even read my stuff. So, and then I thought to myself, well, if they read it, are they going to like it? Because it's still not their tempo.
Right, right.
So it is different, but it's such a hit and miss in any case, no matter who you're writing for. It is. It's a different, and you just do it. The thing is, just do it, write it, and you know what? Through time, nobody's that smart. You can't be that brilliant. You find that this isn't your market. You wouldn't have known that before. You find this is your market. Okay, how to have an affair and not get caught. You would think every time the guy, lovely gentleman that takes care of my website, he would come with this sheet to show me, these graphs and everything.
Right.
And he said, who's your market? And I would go, well, today I would say 35 to 65, because today they only get married if they do, only in their 30s. And he said, well, how about 18? And I had this on the graph that younger people, 18 to 20 something, they were buying it.
Oh,
But they
interesting.
weren't buying the book, they were buying it digitally. Because they couldn't have their friends see it. It was the time period where everybody goes, oh, we're not going to get like our parents and have a mortgage and
Right,
get married
right.
and work your ass off and
Right.
all this stuff.
Right.
but some of them wanted a relationship and they would have to have it secretly so their friends wouldn't know. Because relationships turned into um, what do you call it? Virtual relationships.
Oh,
They would have sex virtually, which trust me isn't bad, but you can't do that all the time.
no.
Their relationships, they didn't know how to speak to each other anymore, and the words became shorter. But then you have one kid who says, I want to touch something real,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
and he couldn't tell his friends, and they would get the book, and they would keep it from their friends, not from
Interesting.
wives, husbands, mothers, father. No, from their friends that they were actually were having a relationship. It was so sad.
Yeah,
To me,
that
it
is
seems so
sad.
sad. These poor kids, they couldn't go out there and just get laid, you know,
Yeah,
and they
exactly.
don't. Do you know that? Okay, can you believe this stuff? Today, um, 20s, 18s, so that they're having less sex than any time in history.
See, that just blows my mind. I mean, that's the best time. Life is new.
Oh,
I mean, you go to college and you're out of your parents' house and I
or
don't
even
know,
in
you're
it,
well in it too, but your hormones are just you're alive. You're
raging.
just so alive. I
And
know.
it's virtual. How can, okay, once in a while, okay, I can see it, but they're having less sex already for a couple of years than ever in history. How can you have less sex? That's so
That's so
it's
unhuman to
inhuman,
me. Yeah, exactly. Especially when we live in a country, let's face it, where we're in an era where we feel safe. We don't have the threat of war
Uh-huh.
on our soil.
Oh,
For
tell
the
me.
most part, we people are cared for. You have the
Yeah.
means, and even if, you're small town America, I mean, that's just the joy of growing up and discovering each other and
Remember
meeting
hot
someone.
summers and meeting a
Yes,
guy and
yes.
your mind, honestly, from what I've seen, and I lived in Israel for over 30 years, and now with what's going on over there, all my friends are there, everyone's there.
Oh,
Um, if this country, and not that I want this country to go to war, but the minute you're in a situation of pressure, you start having sex, you start making love. It's a whole different thing. It's not just sex, it's making love. Your whole idea of wanting to live,
yes.
the whole idea that you want to feel something that's so natural and so beautiful, and it's a part of you, and you can do it. And I'm alive enough to do this. That's when people really make love. Is it also it's on another hand, excitement. I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
Look, I demonstrated in the late 60s.
Oh,
It
okay.
was legal. We did it legally, and we would go out to the streets, thousands of people, and we stood for what we thought was right. And I remember my parents I thought to myself, oh God, they're going to kill me. My mother said, I'm very proud of you, which I thought was really cool,
Yeah,
right?
that is cool.
Except one thing, you knew that about 90% of all these people who were demonstrating, the minute it was over, they went out and they got laid.
Right,
It's the
exactly.
excitement.
Yeah,
Your
it's
blood is
right.
rushing.
Yes, it's the adrenaline rush.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like the old concerts where the music just got people,
Yes.
they're in the music and the outdoor concerts and it's summertime
Oh,
and,
yeah, the beat,
and
the
the
beat.
beats and, I just think that's fabulous. I almost think there should be more of that. I just wish our country, I think, is a little bit rigid when it comes to like, and I'm sure you get blowback a little at times, like, why would you write this? And it shouldn't be like that.
No, in fact, when people come and see my books, the ones that go, oh, they read the back and immediately they pay me and they walk away. I know they weren't born American.
Oh,
Americans go, oh, and they look and they're too embarrassed.
yes.
They're so embarrassed to do it. They're with their sister, their brother, their mother, and they're too embarrassed to buy the books. They giggle. Oh God, they
Right,
giggle.
right, right. Exactly.
Grown-ups giggle on sex. Oh, come on,
I
grow
know.
up. And I'm
Yeah.
saying this openly, grow up. Anybody else that would go, oh, really? And I know they're not from here. I know they're not American born. And open up, lighten up, lighten up. I told someone, he said, what do you think about the situation in the world today and everything? And I told him dead serious. Just like you have one day where nobody works,
Right.
there should be one day the whole world doesn't work. And they should make love that day,
Yes.
all day long.
Yeah.
Think of it. I said to him, first of all, the anticipation of it.
Right.
Okay. Then having a day where you just get it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then telling your friends for the next half year what you had done,
Yeah.
and then the anticipation starts again. I said, imagine how people, who would think of war? I don't want to talk about war. I have to think of what I'm going to wear when I meet somebody. You know
Yes.
what I mean? There has to be a day, and it's not Valentine's Day. That's candy.
No, that,
Has to
yeah.
be a day where everybody just says, you know what? Go for it. And you forget everything else. And maybe that's why I like erotica so much. You do forget everything else, even though it takes place in one book is in China, which was
Yeah.
very a very dark era. The young girl going from poverty to, and meeting all these people, writing all these things, but it puts you someplace else.
Right.
You don't think about something. If I'm reading a mystery, I'm thinking about politics. If I read about something, and here it's erotica, and I could see the touches. I
Yeah,
could see somebody
exactly.
doing that. Or there was something I wrote where he'd taken the wine, and when he moved the glass, he wished it was she that made his lips wet and not the wine.
Right.
And I thought, and after I read that, I thought, where did I think of that?
Yeah, I know. What a great piece
And
of writing.
but I wasn't thinking about anything else. You have to think of somebody's lips. Anytime you're depressed, think of somebody's lips. They'll make you feel wonderful. Trust me.
Right. Right.
Or anything else you want to think
Anything
about.
else, right? Exactly. But it's true. I was just thinking, people need to pick up Lauren's books if they're working a job that's, humdrum, and this should be your lunchtime reading because it takes you out of, no, it puts you in a different place. I know a lot of times on my lunch hours, same thing, I'd want to go out in nature or just go do something to
Yeah, break away.
break away so you're not thinking about that customer or maybe that boss, somebody that made you feel, in less or
Yeah, we have a lot of
yes,
pressures.
yes,
We have a lot of pressures, whether it's political, emotional, family, friends, work. We have a lot of
yes,
pressures. If you can walk away for a while and all that's, you don't see it.
right,
Just break away and you think, oh my God, that's how he held her.
right,
Or she touched
exactly.
his lips. And then you pick up your head and you go, oh, okay, back.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you've broken away. When you read, people say, well, you read erotica, it's supposed to, does it hype you up? I said, of course it does. That's what it's there for. On the other hand, it's calming
Yeah,
because you're there and you're flowing with it. That's what erotica is. I explained to someone, erotica is a whisper. Anything else is hardcore, and that's not,
yeah,
and I can't do that. But it's a whisper, and you flow with the air, you flow with the tempo, and you're out. You're out. And what can be better? And I don't drink, I don't fool around. My life is pretty limited, pretty nerdy that way. But at least when you write, oh, your mind, you can see yourself in the people. You see yourself
right,
being kissed like that.
yeah,
And again, you feel the touches. If I say, her hand was so soft, or his was so rough, or when he's standing next to the horse, and when the horse snarled, the smoke came out. So now you know where you are. You know the temperature. You know how cold it is outside. Yet she's only in distress. Is
right,
she cold? Is she cold, or is she so warm because she watches him, because she
right,
can see him?
yeah.
I let you feel, I want you to feel this. I want you to feel this. And then you go, whoops, here I am. I'm back in my living room
Right,
or back
exactly.
to work, which is even worse.
So when was the first book? When did you feel comfortable to publish it and let it out, so to speak?
Honestly, I do write, I like to tell people, I write civilian. I don't write
Okay.
erotica. And I do belong to the Henderson Writers Group. And every year they put out an anthology. And when I first came to them, you know how it is the first time you go someplace, and I sat in the back and I thought, I'll never write like these people.
Right.
I'd sit there in awe. And I had this, it's like a two-pager. And I raised my hand. I remember I was so frightened. And I said, I want to present something to the anthology. I don't have copies for people. I was like, but can I read it? And the secretary then, she was so sweet. She said, come up over here and read. And now I'm in front of all these people. I read it. And usually when somebody writes something, right away someone puts up their hand, oh, change a word, you skip this. And
Right.
I finished, I picked up my head, crickets.
Oh,
And I thought, oh, shit. I thought they hate it.
right.
And I'm just standing there and I looked at, she was sitting, I looked at her, she looked up to me and she said, they have nothing to say because it was perfect.
Right.
I flew back. I would hardly touch the ground. That was the first one that was accepted. And I just write these I'm a short story writer,
Right.
based on short story. And the one with the young girl on the mountain, I would write these little short stories about her. And I would send it to my friend. One day my friend said, listen, put them together. You've got a book. And I
Oh.
thought, damn, she's right. And that became a book, which again, I just can't put out because I love it so much. But the first real one like that it wasn't just the short stories, was Harem of the Dragon.
Oh.
And Harem came out, what, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And I just sat down and out of the blue, I always have a blank page on my screen. Like I said, I have to have my pen and my paper and
Yeah. Right. Right.
pen. I would go into that blank page and I just started writing. And I wrote the
Interesting.
first two chapters just sitting here.
Wow.
Just this boy being very happy, his father selling him to the palace. He becomes a eunuch at the same time. He feels his whole life is over, except the the chief physician sees something in this boy and builds him to be the chief eunuch of the harem, which was one of the highest levels in the palace. But how do you stay alive? What
Yeah.
do you do? Who's against you? Who's for you? Who does he love? And
Right.
he's a eunuch, so he can't feel it sexually, but he can still love. What happens when he finds a little girl that's hiding and brings her up as his ward? Well, what happens when she grows up and falls in love? Does he lose her?
Right.
These different things that happen to, and each chapter is almost a standalone. And it starts with something, has an erotic section, and then closes. And the erotic section mostly is his main work was teaching the young girls. And unfortunately, it's true. At that, I did massive research. The emperor at that time wanted girls from 13 to 16.
Wow.
After 16, they were sent away to some palace far away. That was his thing.
Yeah.
Another point, he would have 9 girls in bed with him, and the emperor would not climax. He would build himself up because he felt, first of all, it put him on a higher level, on a more godly level. But when the empress was ovulating, that's when he went to her, and that's when they had the royal child. That proved they could, that made the royal
Right. Right.
the heir. And finding out all these things and doing,
Yeah.
and it was just fascinating to write about them, how they grew up, what they did, and at the end, when he confronted his father. And the way he confronts him, and he said, and he realizes he's now in control. His father sold him, but today he's in control.
Right.
And just putting up his hand and saying, I am the dragon. You know, and when I wrote that, I needed an ending. Okay, well, I'll say this quickly. And I couldn't do it. And one day I thought to myself, I closed my eyes, put my fingers on the keys, and I wrote that last paragraph.
Oh, wow.
He came to the water and the water didn't, he came to the sea and it didn't dare splash onto him. The winds wouldn't dare dry his eyes, and when he picks up his hand and he says, I am the dragon. And when I opened up my eyes, I thought, oh God, I need,
Yes.
it was so hot and heavy and it was just so good. And I could see it. I had to see pictures. Again, I couldn't travel. I saw the pictures. The yellow sea, of course, the Great Wall of China.
Right.
Oh, it was built. Ugh. All these things about it. And I couldn't go there, so I had to see it in pictures. But I'm telling you, if I would have gone there, oh, I don't know what I would have done. I would have just gone crazy about that.
Oh, yeah. Just all of the feelings and emotions and
Yeah. And I
sensory
want you to touch
experiences.
it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Just the
Yeah.
air and the smells and the foods. I mean, it all plays into your writing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's stunning. So, if you could go anywhere, or where would you like your next book to take place?
I've written about different places that I've been, but I've always wanted to go. Well, you're going to love this. I studied ancient Egyptology in the Tel Aviv University. I want to go to those pyramids.
Oh,
I knew so much about them. I got to the point where I could look at statues or carvings, and I knew the dynasty because of the color or the shape of the hands and feet.
Oh, wow.
And I passed by, remember when people were wearing the cartouche
Yes,
with the name in
yes,
it?
yeah.
And I passed by a woman and I'm looking and she sees I'm staring at it. And I said, they missed the letter. She said, yeah. It was supposed to be Aviela, which is the Lion of God. Aviela, but it was Arela. They forgot the leaf. They needed the leaf to make the eye. And she looked at me and I did that and kept walking,
Right, yeah.
until today I can write my whole name in hieroglyphics and English, so to say, in hieroglyphics. I can still
Right.
do that. But I would love to go there to see this.
Yes.
It was there are no secrets in Egypt. That was all marketing, it was really marketing. They had this mania. It was really a mania to write. If you took any statue and turned it, you would see on the bottom was all these hieroglyphics. If you turned the statue along the back, hieroglyphics.
Right.
You had to know if it was written, it was much like Chinese. It was either left, right, or up or down. You had to
Oh,
know what you're reading, But emotionally, I have to go back to Israel. I
oh,
have a picture that when I walked up to the Western Wall, I walked up to it and I thought, thousands of years ago, they built this place for King David and then King Solomon, his son. They didn't know that I would be here. They never knew that I would be here today.
no.
And we still had cameras, right? It was before the phones came. And I thought, oh, my battery's about to die. And I timed it. I put my hand on the stone, clicked, it took the picture and then died, right? So I have this picture. But that person never knew that I would be there. And I think that's part of the travel. If you go back to your roots,
Right.
they didn't know you would be there. You're
No.
connected. Your great 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 grandfather, your great 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 grandmother came from this village, and you come back. You're walking on the land. You're walking where they weren't, where they were. What more of a connection can you get? And this closing of the closure of, knowing that, hey, you don't know, I'm here, but I'm just telling you, I came back.
Right.
You can almost speak to them. Every Saturday morning, I'll do this quickly. Every Saturday morning, I would travel from my house. It was right before Jerusalem. My friend would live there, and you go up. You always go up to Jerusalem. It's in the hills. And I would go before the sun came up.
Oh,
Dark as hell. I'm on this highway number one, because it's going to Jerusalem. And I'm driving dark as hell, right? And then little by little, the sky changes and everything changes around me. And I'm driving, and I'm alone. Who's doing this Saturday morning? That early, and I'm driving, and the sky goes from black to slate to dark blue to blue, and also boom, it opens
yes.
up, and the fields. Oh, I would see the shadows, and then I would see bushes, and then I would see trees, and all of a sudden, boom, I see forests and the different greens and everything. And I'm going, I thought, thousands of years, people walked to Jerusalem. If they were lucky, if they were rather rich, they had a little cart and
Right,
donkey.
right.
And here I was in a car because I can go anywhere, but because they did this, I can do this. They walked there. And I could always imagine people walking along the road in the galabia, those dresses,
Right, yes.
sort of the galabio, then, had a stick because you were going up, and I could just see them walking there. And I thought, they didn't know that I could do this. And I
No.
would walk in the forests over there, and I thought, they didn't know I would be here.
Yeah.
It's it's a heady feeling. No two ways about it. You've got to go find out where your family came from. Go there. You're going to tingle a little bit because you're going to feel them around you, and they see you now, and you almost see them. I can't even explain it. Being a writer, and I can't even explain it.
That's fabulous. Wow, this has been a really amazing conversation, Lauren.
Thank
Tell
you.
people again where they can find your books.
Yes,
I know you do some signings locally in Las Vegas from time to time, but
just look me up, Lauren Tallman. The easiest thing is Lauren Tallman on Facebook. Everybody said, "Oh, brand yourself," and I said, "My name is my brand."
yes.
This way, just write Lauren Tallman. You'll find me. I'm not Lauren Tallman, the tennis player.
No.
Trust me, I'm not that. I'm not that sport. I don't go into sports. If you look under Lauren Tallman, you'll find all my books. Where to find them? You'll find my website. You'll find where I'm having a next site of signing. You'll find me all over the place. And please, please, please read the books because they're wonderful. They're wonderful.
They are. They're
Thank
really,
you.
really wonderful. They will make you feel so good. We just need to continue to spread that for all ages. It never stops. You know, our desires, our needs. We need to fulfill that. So, and Lauren also writes in the Vegas Voice, so you can always look and pick up the Vegas
Yes.
Voice.
I became a columnist. Go figure, you know. I became a columnist for the Vegas Voice. It's a 50s plus magazine, the largest physically in America. And I'm the only erotic writer in America in a 50s plus magazine. And
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I was awarded recently. I was awarded second place in America for the best column. So, and I said, okay, thank you. Until someone said, do you know what you just did?
I
I
know that's
said,
huge,
no,
right? Yeah.
I didn't get it, you know. But he asked me, can you write columns? I said, yeah, which I'd never done before. And then one day he said, can you do podcasts? And I said, sure. You know, I thought, and here I am. Here I am. So look up Lauren Tallman. You'll find me.
I
You'll find
love it. Look forward to our next conversation, Lauren. Thank you
me.
so much.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you.